The 2024 US presidential election was one of the most closely watched and fiercely contested in recent history. The stakes were incredibly high, and the nation was on edge as the candidates campaigned tirelessly across the country. Former President Donald Trump, defying expectations, secured the Republican nomination, reigniting the fervor of his supporters who believed in his vision for America, setting the stage for a rematch against now Vice President Kamala Harris, the Democratic nominee. Harris, with her own passionate base, aimed to build on the progress made during her tenure. The campaign trail was dominated by familiar themes of economic anxiety, social division, and a deep sense of uncertainty about the future, and concerns about the direction of the country. Both candidates presented starkly different visions, reflecting the polarized state of the nation.
Trump, campaigning on a platform of making America great again, sought to recapture the energy of his previous campaigns, tapped into a deep well of support among his base, who were energized by his populist rhetoric and promises of economic revival. His message resonated particularly in areas hit hard by economic downturns, where many felt left behind by the current administration. Harris, on the other hand, presented a more forward-looking vision, focusing on inclusivity and progressive policies, emphasizing unity, social justice, and the need to address issues like climate change and income inequality. Her campaigns sought to bring together a coalition of diverse groups.
The election exposed deep divisions within the American electorate, highlighting the stark contrasts in priorities and values. With voters sharply polarized along political, ideological, and even geographical lines, urban areas tended to lean towards Harris, while rural regions showed strong support for Trump. The outcome remained uncertain until the very end, with both candidates holding narrow leads in key battleground states. The tension was palpable as the nation awaited the final results, with both candidates holding narrow leads in key battleground states. The battleground states, as always, played a crucial role in determining the final outcome. In the end, it was a nail-biting finish. The results were so close that recounts were demanded in several states, adding to the drama and uncertainty.
The 2024 election underscored the challenges facing American democracy in an era of heightened partisanship, misinformation, and social unrest. The close result and the divisive rhetoric of the campaign left many wondering if the country could heal its wounds and find common ground. The close result and the divisive rhetoric of the campaign left many wondering if the country could heal its wounds and find common ground. The election was a reflection of the broader societal issues that have been brewing for years, and it highlighted the urgent need for dialogue and understanding. As the dust settled, both sides called for unity and reconciliation, but the path forward remained uncertain. The nation stood at a crossroads with the hope that the democratic process would ultimately lead to a more united and prosperous future.
The U.S. economy in 2024 presented a mixed picture, characterized by both growth and uncertainty. Economic indicators showed a complex landscape where some sectors thrived, while others struggled to keep up. This duality created a sense of unpredictability that permeated through various aspects of daily life and business operations. While the economy continued to expand, albeit at a slower pace than in previous years, inflation remained a persistent concern for many Americans. The slower growth rate was a stark contrast to the rapid expansion seen in the early 2020s, and it raised questions about the sustainability of economic policies. Inflation, driven by supply chain disruptions and increased demand, affected everything from groceries to gas prices. The rising cost of living, particularly for essential goods and services like housing, healthcare, and food, put a strain on household budgets and fueled economic anxiety. Families found themselves cutting back on non-essential spending and prioritizing their expenses more carefully. The housing market, in particular, saw significant stress as prices soared, making homeownership increasingly out of reach for many.
Wage growth, while showing some signs of improvement, failed to keep pace with inflation, leaving many workers struggling to make ends meet. Despite some industries offering higher wages to attract talent, the overall increase was not enough to offset the rising costs of living. This disparity led to a growing sense of frustration among the workforce, who felt their hard work was not being adequately rewarded. The gap between the rich and the poor continued to widen, exacerbating feelings of economic inequality and social unrest. Protests and demonstrations became more common as people voiced their concerns about the uneven distribution of wealth. The visible contrast between luxury and poverty highlighted the urgent need for policies that could bridge this growing divide.
In the business world, investment trends reflected both optimism and caution. Companies were eager to invest in new technologies and expand their operations, but they were also wary of potential economic downturns. This cautious optimism was evident in the stock market, where fluctuations mirrored the broader economic uncertainties. The technology sector remained a bright spot, with continued growth in areas like artificial intelligence, cloud computing, and cybersecurity. These advancements not only drove economic growth, but also created new job opportunities and reshaped industries. The tech sector's resilience was a testament to its ability to innovate and adapt to changing market conditions. However, traditional industries like manufacturing and retail faced challenges from automation, global competition, and shifting consumer preferences. Automation led to increased efficiency, but also raised concerns about job displacement. Global competition forced companies to innovate and adapt quickly, while changing consumer preferences demanded more personalized and sustainable products.
The energy sector witnessed a resurgence of investment in fossil fuels, driven in part by geopolitical instability and concerns about energy security. This renewed focus on fossil fuels was seen as a short-term solution to immediate energy needs, despite the long-term environmental implications. Geopolitical tensions further complicated the energy landscape, making it a critical area of focus for policymakers. Meanwhile, investment in renewable energy sources like solar and wind continued to grow, reflecting a long-term shift towards cleaner energy solutions. This growth was supported by technological advancements and increasing public awareness of environmental issues. The transition to renewable energy was seen as essential for achieving sustainability goals and reducing the carbon footprint.
The United States faced a complex and rapidly evolving geopolitical landscape in 2024. The ongoing war in Ukraine, tensions with China, and the rise of new global powers presented both challenges and opportunities for U.S. foreign policy. The Biden administration's approach to foreign policy emphasized diplomacy, multilateralism, and a renewed focus on human rights and democracy promotion.
However, the administration also faced pressure to take a more assertive stance in response to perceived threats from China and Russia. The US continued to provide military and humanitarian aid to Ukraine, while imposing sanctions on Russia in an effort to pressure Moscow to end the conflict.
However, the war had a ripple effect on the global economy, contributing to rising energy prices and food shortages, which posed challenges for US policymakers.
Section 4, China on Our Minds, Trade Tensions and Global Influence. In recent years, the dynamics between the world's two largest economies have been a focal point of global attention. The intricate web of trade, technology, and geopolitical strategies has created a complex and often contentious relationship.
Relations between the United States and China remain strained in 2024, marked by ongoing trade disputes, technological competition, and geopolitical rivalry. The two superpowers continue to clash over issues like trade practices, intellectual property rights, human rights, and China's assertive actions in the South China Sea. These disputes have not only affected bilateral relations, but have also had significant implications for global trade and economic stability. The South China Sea, a critical maritime route, has been a particularly contentious area, with both nations asserting their dominance and influence.
The US imposed tariffs on Chinese goods under the Trump administration, and while some of these tariffs were rolled back under Biden, trade tensions persisted. The tariffs, initially aimed at addressing trade imbalances and protecting American industries, have had mixed results. While some sectors benefited, others faced increased costs and supply chain disruptions. Trade negotiations have been ongoing, with both sides seeking to find common ground, yet significant challenges remain.
The two countries also engaged in a technological arms race, with the US taking steps to restrict Chinese companies' access to sensitive technologies like semiconductors and artificial intelligence. This competition extends beyond mere economic interests, touching on national security concerns and the future of technological innovation. The US has implemented measures to safeguard its technological edge, while China has ramped up its efforts to become self-reliant in critical tech sectors.
The US also sought to strengthen alliances with countries in the Indo-Pacific region, including Japan, South Korea, and Australia, as a way to counter China's growing influence. These alliances are not just military in nature, but also encompass economic and technological collaborations. By fostering strong ties with regional partners, the US aims to create a united front to address the challenges posed by China's rise.
The Biden administration's Indo-Pacific strategy aimed to promote a free and open region, but it remained to be seen how effective this approach would be in containing China's ambitions. The strategy includes initiatives to enhance regional infrastructure, promote fair trade practices, and support democratic institutions. However, the success of these efforts will depend on the cooperation and commitment of regional allies, as well as the ability to navigate the complex and evolving geopolitical landscape.
Section 5, south of the border, immigration and trade with Mexico.
Immigration remained a contentious issue in US-Mexico relations in 2024. The Biden administration faced pressure to address the root causes of migration from Central America, including poverty, violence, and climate change. But progress on these fronts remained elusive.
The US and Mexico continued to cooperate on border security and combating drug trafficking, but tensions flared over the issue of fentanyl smuggling.
The Biden administration called on Mexico to do more to crack down on the production and trafficking of this deadly synthetic opioid, which was fueling an overdose crisis in the US.
Trade relations between the US and Mexico remained strong, with Mexico being one of the US's top trading partners.
However, there were some points of friction, including disputes over rules of origin for automobiles under the USMCA trade agreement.